One of the greatest skills that a developer can have is the ability to understand and use references existing on the internet. Now, because we are working as web developers for this class, web-based languages such as HTML, CSS, and JavaScript update a lot. Right? There's a lot of changes that get made on a regular basis. Syntax changes, different functions are getting added and removed, and there's lots and lots and lots of different pieces of content that all kind of come together whenever we're programming that we may not fully understand. For example, there's plenty of tags and phrases in the code that we're going to be using that we may not fully understand initially. And a reference is really like a dictionary that you can look at and find, okay, I'm seeing this specific word being used in my program or this specific word being used in my web page, etc. And I can come over here to a reference and find that specific tag and understand what it does. So basically, this is like your dictionary, like if you were in a language class, right? Again, we're approaching programming and coding as a language learning process. And just like how we have to practice it every day and practice it with others and so on and so forth, we also have to have our translation dictionary, if you will. So one of the most commonly used reference guides on the internet is the MDN Web Docs. MDN stands for the Mozilla Developer Network, and Mozilla is the company that makes a lot of the stuff that you see on the internet. They also make Mozilla Firefox. That's probably what you know them for, which is a web browser. And if I go to the MDN Web Docs site, I can, at the top here, find the references and guides. And under this, there's a lot of different things. There's Learn Web Development, which is actually kind of like a tutorial system, which is great. If you want to, find some extra tutorials to practice your skills, that's wonderful. But then there's also references right here, and that's what we're mostly going to be using. Notice it says draft, this page is not complete, and that's because this stuff is always changing. Things are always getting added. So we have this web technology section, and we have two sections, HTML and CSS. Since we're using both of these, you're going to be using both of these references. And down here we have a series of tutorials, guides, etc. But let's just click this right here. It has history, concepts, more things to learn. If I go back down here, there's the introduction to HTML, learn HTML, HTML5 developer guide, the element reference, and the standard reference. I'm just going to click reference. And this is going to show us all the elements and the attributes of HTML. We'll get into what the difference is here between an element and an attribute later, but for now, just understand that these are both the different components of a line of HTML code. So we can go through here and see, okay, the element reference. And let's say I'm using the element, the P element, also known as the paragraph element. So I see this P right here, and maybe I see that in my code and I don't know what that means, so I click it. The P element represents a paragraph of text. Paragraphs are usually represented in visual media as blocks of text that are separated from adjacent blocks by vertical blank space and/or first line indentation. Paragraphs are block level elements. We'll talk about what that means later. And we have all this information here. If I scroll down, here are the attributes. So these are the things you can use to modify a paragraph tag. And this one just includes all the global attributes, which is kind of its own page. And then we have a great example, and then the actual resulting code from that example. So we can look at these two and see them here. If we want to modify them, we could actually open this in CodePen. And CodePen is like a little testing modifier. Type some stuff and it should auto-update. Yep, and it auto-updates. So I can play around with this example. I'm just going to close out of this. There's further things like how it's used in these different specifications such as HTML5 or HTML 4.01. The browser compatibility, so this is compatible with everything. And then also some see also. These are some things that might be useful. So the BR tag is the break tag, which is how we get line breaks like this. If we hop back to the base reference, we can go to the CSS reference. There's also this common CSS questions section, which is really useful. We can see what the syntax looks like, some of the key words in CSS. So maybe I need to know what font style means. And this gives us some examples. So get used to using these references because you're going to be using them a lot. I would bookmark these pages, take notes over them. This is really like your language dictionary. And if you can get really great at using references, you will be an awesome programmer. Trust me, I don't know any developer that doesn't use a reference all the time. It's impossible to know every single part of a language, right? For instance, English, right? We're fluent in English, but you may not know what a certain word means, so you go and look it up in the dictionary, and it's the same thing here. You're not going to know everything. It's really great to have these huge resources available to you.